Welcome back to Light the Fuse, the Mission Impossible podcast that is crawling its way to 100 episodes.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there. Soon enough.
I'm excited. And we've got some big things coming up for everybody.
I hope
so. We are working on some awesome names that I think you're going to be very excited about. However, a couple of them...
if you're not excited about it, then you're dumb.
Yes. Yeah, you're dumb.
Yeah.
A couple of them have had to reschedule a couple times, and so we've been long overdue for the making of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
This is going to be epic.
It's long.
This is a 4-part making of.
Right.
Because we have so much stuff about Ghost Protocol. So we're very excited to share that with you. Before we get into that, though.
Oh, God. What have you got?
Well, we didn't do a bonus episode about this for the Patreon, but we should talk about it just quickly here.
Okay.
They announced there's an article that says they're going to start shooting in Rome.
Right. Was that like from a Roman paper or something?
I don't know, but in there they said that the code name for the movie was LYBRA, which I assume is Libra.
Yeah, I think that was just a misspelling or something.
Because as we know, Ghost Protocol was Aries.
Right.
And Rogue Nation was Taurus.
Right.
And Fallout was Gemini, and now this one is apparently going to be Libra.
It's exciting.
And they're supposed to shoot for, I think, what did they say? Like for 40 days? Is that what it was? It was a lot of time they were going to shoot in Rome. So I assume some kind of big action sequence is what they're going to start with. So we're excited.
Yeah.
To say the least. And also it was confirmed, someone sent us a thing on Twitter that Simon Pegg is coming back because he mentioned in an interview recently that he's going to be shooting Mission Impossible soon.
Yes.
So, not unexpected, but good to hear. Benji is confirmed and he's coming back. So that's good to hear.
I hope he gets some masks again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, I mean, that's very exciting. We're on the cusp.
Yeah.
We're never going to be able to end this podcast.
No.
Because
we are trapped. We are trapped. But we're having fun.
We're having fun, and we've got some really great guests lined up. People who we've been wanting on the show forever and finally are getting a hold of.
And some people that everybody's been asking us to get, and we're finally going to get. And so you'll see. It's going to be good.
It's going to be good, but really we got to get down to the meat of the matter here.
Which is
Ghost Protocol.
The making of Ghost Protocol, the movie that pretty much got us on the track to make this podcast.
Yeah, and even, I was saying to you, if we included everything that we have uncovered about this movie in these these 4 episodes, we would be here for another week, probably.
You were texting me about it last night. I was like, that would be a 10-part episode.
Yeah. We at some point, we will do something with these interviews, I think.
Yes, I think we'll do a book, probably. Yeah. I think it would be awesome to put together all of our interviews in a book and have a nice presentation for that and have some little essays and things that we can add in there too, our thoughts and other people's thoughts about Mission Impossible. Yeah, I mean, the ambitious one would be to do an oral history of the entire series. Oh, yes.
But that would be very work intensive.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. For now, we'll just keep doing these weekly episodes and our Patreon.
Yeah, go to the Patreon. We'll have more stuff, Patreon stuff. We've had more and more stuff every week. And get a T-shirt. Yeah. We got to remind people of that.
TeePublic page.
But let's jump into it.
So just for starters, going to say a lot of making of stuff is covered in our other episodes that we have interviewed people like the director, Brad Bird, Christopher McQuarrie. We have a 2-part episode with him where he talks about the rewrites that he did on Ghost Protocol. We have our interview with cinematographer Robert Elswit, which is hilarious and awesome. We have multiple interviews with editor Paul Hirsch. In particular, I think the first 3-parter that we did with Paul Hirsch, he talks about Ghost Protocol a lot. But he does a little bit in the back. In the second one, too, he talks about working with Brad Bird and stuff. So those are worth checking out. Also, VFX artist Todd Vaziri, who was the compositing supervisor on this movie. That's a great interview to check out if you haven't already. Co-producer and UPM Tommy Harper, who we just recently interviewed, so you probably have listened to that, I would hope. And then also our Unmade Missions episode that we did long ago, we dipped into the development of this and all the movies and what other directors were on board for these movies at different times.
Well, what was so cool too was recently someone asked McQuarrie a question about Ghost Protocol and he referred them to our episode.
Oh, yeah.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
So that's how you know that is the real shit, the McQuarrie episode. Because we were very fascinated by his involvement with Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you can check that out right now. In the Ghost Protocol Shooting Diary, which you can get on Amazon, Cruz says, I grew up watching Mission Impossible as a kid. Every week, my family and I would gather in front of our TV for one incredible hour. We were all transported to an amazing world of gadgetry, intrigue, and suspense. It was pure entertainment. I've never heard him talk about the show, really. Have you?
No, just very little. Just a couple of these little choice quotes. That's it. I've never, just from these research that I've done, just finding things like this.
Right.
So we're kind of opening with a couple different quotes from Cruz.
Right.
So from the production notes, Cruz said, I loved the show when I was a kid. I felt that as a film, it could take us to different locations, have pulse racing action sequences, and smart, innovative tech. It was the first film I ever produced. As a filmmaker and as an actor, I'm always thinking about the audience. I want to entertain them and give them a new adventure every time.
Mission accomplished on that one. So on the Blu-ray special features, and it goes without saying that, when they put it out on home video, there was a special edition that only was out for a day.
And that had the bonus disc.
And that has a bonus disc that has never been replicated anywhere, I don't think.
And you have it.
I have it.
And I hate you for it.
Some of them I think are on the iTunes, but it's not the same ones. Anyway, so on the Blu-ray special features, Cruz says, I wanted a franchise where I could collaborate with various filmmakers. With each one, I go in with a motif. With 4, I wanted more humor, big composition, and something that had big entertainment value. The only way we'll accomplish it is if everyone steps up. And, yeah, they followed through on those, don't you think?
I think they did.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. This is from The Hollywood Reporter. In 2006, 3 months after Mission Impossible 3 opened, Viacom chief Sumner Redstone ended Paramount's 14-year relationship with Tom Cruise and Paula Wagner. Relatively speaking, MI3 was a box office disappointment, bringing in $395 million worldwide after the first movie earned $452 million, and MI2 made $545 million. But of course, Cruz did not sit still. Soon after, he and Paula Wagner took over MGM's United Artists, and they were running their production slate for a while. That's
an interesting period of Cruz's life that hasn't really been dug into, but yeah, it's fascinating. So according to the same Hollywood Reporter article, in 2008, rumors circulated that a Paramount executive suggested Cruz would do well merely to produce the next Mission movie and to reboot the franchise with a younger star. Cruz and Abrams are expected to conceive the new Mission movie in a manner closer to the ensemble approach of the old TV series, or it's possible they would reconfigure Ethan Hunt in a, quote, less front and center role as a mentor to the new MI crew.
So even back then, that's what
No.
There's some, as we've heard in our interviews and talking to people, there was someone at Paramount who was trying to do this. And thank God they're gone. Maybe they listen to the show. Then we go to a Variety piece on May 7th, 2008. They report that Viacom chief Sumner Redstone says he would have no objection to Tom Cruise starring in the next Mission Impossible movie. Cruz and Redstone were seen dining together in Beverly Hills a couple months ago. Redstone says, I consider Tom Cruise a great actor and a good friend, and if Paramount decides to move ahead with him, I will not object. He added that the decision was up to Brad Gray, who runs Paramount.
Which is something we've also heard. So on June 18th, 2009, Variety reports that Mission Impossible 4 is taking shape. It seemed truly impossible, but it's actually happening. Cruz and J.J. Abrams have reached an agreement to co-produce the sequel. So this is the beginning of the Bad Robot era in earnest, right?
Yes.
They are both producers together. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so buried in that article is a fascinating tidbit that broke my heart that I have to share with you.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Right.
Quote, Cruz and Denzel Washington are also awaiting a rewrite on MGM's adaptation of Robert Ludlum thriller The Matterese Circle to be directed by David Cronenberg.
Wow.
What?
I've never heard of this.
What happened to that movie and why didn't we get it? Denzel and Tom Cruise together?
With Cronenberg?
With Cronenberg directing.
That's insane.
I mean, that's like right after... what was that right after? That was right after the Eastern Promises.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which was one of my favorite movies
of the best.
Of his.
Yeah. Amazing.
Anyway, sad.
Breaking my heart, Charles. You're breaking my heart. J.J. Abrams told TV Guide at the time, I'm incredibly honored that Tom has invited me back as a producer on Mission Impossible 4. Tom and I have come up with a really cool idea we are pursuing. Probably an idea that they didn't end up pursuing, is my guess.
Yes, as we know, these...
they mutate. Yeah.
August 7th, 2009, Variety reports that Cruz and JJ have hired Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec to write the screenplay for Mission Impossible 4. Applebaum and Nemec spent 4 seasons with Abrams writing for the TV show Alias.
And Kurtzman and Orsi were just coming off of Alias 2. There were
three, yeah.
Yeah. So this is another one from the production notes. Applebaum recalls of developing the plot. JJ called us and asked if we could come up with a story with a way to show Ethan in a different light from the previous films. Ethan Hunt is the heart of the franchise, but they were looking for a way to tell a story that's really him trying to lead a team and to keep the team intact against all odds. We wanted to challenge Ethan as both player and coach, a guy who's not only in it, but in it with a team that isn't fully gelling. So he's got to try to pull the team together, all while working on the fly.
That's kind of
not really sure.
That's sort of in the movie because he's given a team that he didn't get to choose for once.
That's true.
So that idea is still in there.
Yeah.
Also from the production notes, in 2009, producer Brian Burke and J.J. Abrams were traveling the world to promote the new Star Trek movie, and they stopped one night in Dubai. They got a tour of the city, and J.J. said, "We have to come back here and shoot a movie." A year later, when they started talking about MI4 and where it could take place, J.J. said, "Well, what about Dubai? We could set a scene at the Burj Khalifa."
The Burj had also been on Tom Cruise's radar, who had seen the structure under construction. Cruz says, "I'm always looking at different structures thinking, how can I climb that? How can I jump out of that?" Co-writer Nimick recalls, "We were talking about the building sequence and thought, what's the scariest, most badass thing we could imagine? Well, the answer was, let's make him climb the outside of the building in the interest of keeping the mission alive." Tom loved the idea. Of course.
Amazing. Around this time, Ruben Fleischer and Edgar Wright were considered for directing duties. Wright is, of course, a friend of Simon Pegg's, but he backed out since he was in post-production for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Fleischer at the time had only directed Zombieland and some TV things. Edgar Wright at that point had made Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and some TV, including his show with Pegg and Jessica Stevenson, Spaced, which I'd highly recommend if you haven't seen. It's worth seeking out. I think it's on Hulu and maybe Roku Channel. But anyway, these are both zombie comedy guys. Was Cruz big into zombie comedies at the time? It's kind of.
I think we were all into zombie comedies at the time. So now we're in 2010. So in any case, somewhere around the spring of 2010, Brad Bird signs on as a director. You should listen to our interview with him to get the whole story of how he signed on. There's some very funny anecdotes about him chasing JJ for the script. And, there aren't really scripts to speak of with these movies most of the time. So, yeah.
I think they tried to have one.
They tried.
And it mutated, as always.
Yeah.
I dug this up from an older interview that you actually had with Brad Bird.
Oh, wow.
I think it might have been for Movie Phone, but it was before we talked with him on the podcast.
Okay.
He says, "Tom asked to meet with me after the first Incredibles, and I went over to his house and we just talked about movies. We started waxing enthusiastic about Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd. The fact that he knew Harold Lloyd was a tip-off. Most people know Chaplin and Keaton, but not as many people know Harold Lloyd. I'd mention a film and he'd say, 'Oh yeah, Speedy.' So when I wanted to introduce silent film comedy in some of Mission Impossible without being campy or diluting the suspense, Tom was all in. Like Safety Last is sort of a Mission Impossible movie."
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Tom knows his stuff. Brad said in the Blu-ray bonus features, "One of the things that appealed to me about Mission Impossible versus any of the other projects I was offered was there's no house style. Tom invited different directors to put their stamps on the film." Cruz adds, "I told Brad, I think you're a live-action director. When you're ready to direct live action, I'd love to work with you. Brad has a love of entertaining an audience, and his storytelling is characters. I find that engaging and unique." I don't know. Was he kind of putting him down? Get out of animation. Come over here.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like, I don't know if it's Brad Bird or if it's just the evolution of animation in general, but it seems like now animation movies imitate lenses.
Yes.
Camera lenses, which was not a thing before maybe 20 years ago. Maybe even I don't even think Iron Giant did it, but I think The Incredibles did it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the first movie that did it, but it really made it feel like it was more of a traditional movie. It makes me kind of sad I miss more traditional animated movies because there's so many animated movies now that just are imitating camera lenses.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful. Like Toy Story 4, it looks anamorphic. It looks like it was shot anamorphic, and it's incredible. But I'd also like to see some animation movies that are more like traditional, old style. Where you have the kind of environments like that.
I've heard him say, too, that he says that, when he was making animation, all the critics said that they looked like live-action movies. And then when he was making live-action movies, everybody said they were cartoony. So, of course.
But that part, like at the end of The Incredibles, there's a handheld shot.
Yes.
When they run into the house and they find the bad guy holding the Jack. You know, it's like the camera is over the shoulder, like it feels like a handheld shot following them, and it's pretty new at the time, I think. And, So from the production notes, when Brad Bird came on board, he obviously influenced the screenplay a lot. Some of his contributions include Brandt's iCam lens, the contact lens which functions as a video display, throwing off a meet and swap meeting with Moreau, the sandstorm chase, and the payphone not self-destructing the way it's supposed to.
Co-writer Josh Applebaum says in the Blu-ray bonus features, Bird said, "I want to use Raiders as an inspiration for the movie. When Indy takes a hit, it hurts." Bird said, "Die Hard is one of the best action films ever, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. They're expertly directed. They have heroes who are really struggling to get through the movie. They're more compelling because they see the fear and pain on their faces. They do it anyway. They're more relatable," which we can totally see all over Ghost Protocol.
Yeah. He's more vulnerable.
He gets beat
and I think
up.
it really established the new Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
That you really see him, I don't know, more vulnerable in those action moments.
And it's the humor, too.
Yeah.
Of everybody being bigger than
I think
Indy.
that's a big part of it. Not just the vulnerability, but it's the humor in those situations.
Yes.
That Indiana Jones and John McClane had. And
Yeah.
that makes them feel human. From a big Variety article about David Dozeretz, who was the senior pre-visualization supervisor on Ghost Protocol, Dozeretz says, "Tom Cruise has been a technology pioneer. This guy worked on Mission 1, Mission 3, and Ghost Protocol. He couldn't do MI2 because he was occupied with the Star Wars prequels." He says, "De Palma's Mission Impossible was actually the first movie that really used previs. At the time, Dozeretz was with ILM, so I bet Stu Maschwitz probably knows him.
Yeah, we should get him on the show.
We should, yeah. He says Dozeretz says the studio was reluctant about the sequence where the helicopter goes into the tunnel, so they decided to do a rough computer animation to show what it can look like. So anyway, starting in January of 2010, Dozeretz and his team at Pre-Visualization Society helped with the previs for the Burge sequence, working for 12 months on it. He says, quote, "It was really early on. We were starting on the Burge previs even as JJ was first talking with Brad Bird in the other room."
And there's a lot of reasons that you use previs. Get everybody to sign off. That's what I heard from Marvel people, is that's why they use previs so much, is that every creative signs off on it beforehand. And I'm sure this was also a big safety thing.
Yeah, there's more here, yeah.
Okay, so production designer Jim Bissell, who we are dying to have on the show, says that the previs was a helpful tool for Brad in visualizing difficult and complex live-action sequences more than 6 months before any shooting took place. And I'm sure it made him feel more comfortable, too, as an animator.
Yeah.
Dozeretz created as many as 15 or 20 versions of the sequence for Bird. They'd show it to Bird, and he'd say it wasn't quite working. He'd give them suggestions for picking up the pace in some areas, slowing it down in others. Then they'd share the sequences with the studio and make a plan for shooting them. But there was one factor they didn't predict. When they spent 6 months working on the sequence, they thought it was all going to be VFX work. They thought they'd shoot plates and then insert Tom digitally. When they were designing the sequence, they thought they could do anything because it was all going to be digital. They had to rethink it when it turned out that they were going to shoot with Tom for real. That is exactly what Robert Elswit talked to us about in our interview with him. So go listen to that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it didn't change that much because Tom is a maniac and did almost everything.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to hear that he was he was a pioneer when it came to previs.
Yeah.
You know, because that's, like you said, every blockbuster is doing that now, and that was
Have you ever
him
used
doing
previs?
it 25 years ago. No.
No.
I draw a little stick figure storyboard sometimes. that's about
Same
the
thing.
extent
Same
of it.
thing. Yeah.
On February 10th, 2010, the LA Times says Paramount has announced that Mission Impossible 4, with a Roman numeral 4, will be released in theaters over Memorial Day weekend in 2011. The Hollywood Reporter says on the same day that David Ellison's Skydance is co-financing the movie. Is that the first time that's happened?
Yeah. And now they're co-producers on all of them.
Yeah.
The LA Times had another article on February 15th, 2010. This one says Cruz has given up a preferential slice of the movie's ticket sales. He won't be collecting a hefty first dollar out of box office receipts. He'll still earn a sizable payday, though, making $20 million of his $25 million up front. At the time, this was a new trend. A-list actors were no longer getting the super rich deals they used to get. This was largely because DVD sales were no longer reliable. But he still ended up making.
Yeah, I'm sure he made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it was like kind of a different era. It was kind of
they were cutting
DVD
their
sales ended. It changed, and movie stars weren't as at the forefront. You couldn't you can't sell a movie anymore just with an actor's face.
No,
like you used to.
It has to be a character.
Yeah, some kind of IP added to it as well. Variety reports on May 7th, 2010, that Mission 4 will be released on December 16th, 2011, and it's announced that Brad Bird is in talks to direct. So they pushed the release date 7 months, giving us our first and only Mission movie released around the holidays.
I want to bring that back.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, it might happen. We'll see if they can make these release dates.
When the Tom Cruise Cameron Diaz movie Night and Day, directed by James Mangold, opens in June of 2010. The trades are talking about how the movie has underperformed, and they're wondering if Cruise's star power is over. Ha! They make it seem like this is a really delicate time for Cruz, and Paramount is nervous about the budget for MI4. They want it significantly lower than the last movie, which I don't think happened.
I don't think that happened. From the production notes, co-writer Josh Applebaum recalls, JJ said, "I would love to see Benji come out from behind the desk and be in the field. So we just had some fun with the idea because we were so used to seeing those hardened agents that have been on mission after mission, and instead having Ethan with this guy who hasn't been in the field that long. This is all sort of new to him."
That definitely carried through.
Yeah.
I watched it again yesterday, and he does really have a great energy.
Yeah, it's different than anything you've seen in those movies. Yeah. It's cool.
So then it's announced in The Hollywood Reporter on July 19th, 2010 that Simon Pegg is coming back for the Mission franchise. Duh. The movie doesn't have an official green light yet, but is tracking for an early September start. At this point, they say Brad Bird has been reading actors. That's crazy. That hadn't even been greenlit.
Yeah. They're holding out. They're like, get that budget lower. According to IMDb trivia, here are some actors who are considered for the role of Brant. Ready for this?
I'm ready.
Anthony Mackie.
Okay.
Christopher Egan. Kevin Zegers. Chris Pine. And Tom Hardy. Do you think any of these guys would have done as good a job?
No, I don't. I think they did. I mean, I love all those actors. Obviously,
it would have been a very different energy.
Yes. I think that Renner brings a weariness to the character that these guys are maybe they're a little fresh faced. They're a little,
Yeah.
The shot of him looking, and he does such great eye acting for something that isn't there. When the suit comes up and is levitating by him in the airplane.
Yes, yeah.
And he looks over. Just great. Yeah. Just absolutely amazing. So from the production notes, Jeremy Renner came on onto the project by chance. He was having a quick meeting with JJ regarding another movie. IMDb trivia says Renner was up for the dad role in Super 8 that eventually went to Kyle Chandler, and that is true. Well, by chance, on this day, Cruz happened to be visiting for a production meeting. Renner says, then literally from that meeting, I just came over to Paramount and sat down with Brad Bird, Brian Burke, and Tom, and they pitched me the story. There wasn't even a script yet. They decided the character, and it seemed pretty interesting. I couldn't say no. Just like that.
Yeah.
Would you? I would sign on.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
August 27th, Variety reports that the new Mission film may have a title that goes in a different direction from the previous three. It's possible that the title won't even include the words Mission Impossible.
I remember when this was breaking, and it was very weird.
Yeah. It's like, that's not a good idea.
No. Another big change happening is behind-the-scenes financial arrangements. The deals for this movie are structured to keep upfront costs down with more potential compensation from the back end. The movie will begin shooting this fall in Vancouver, Prague, Dubai, and the U.S. Details of the plot are kept under wraps, but insiders say the story brings a fresh perspective to the franchise and does not pick up where the last film left off. And from our Tommy Harper interview, they shot a little bit in India, too.
It's true.
Which they did not announce ahead of time.
But they hadn't planned it, remember?
No, they hadn't planned it.
Because in the middle of shooting, they're like, I guess we got to go to India. It was mostly just plates, though,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was actually there, but yeah.
Over the next couple of months, they announce all the remaining cast members in the trades, including, of course, Paula Patton. Now, according to IMDb trivia, other people who are considered for Jane Carter.
Ooh.
Kristen Kriak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she played Lana Lang on Smallville. Mm-hmm. And Lauren German, who is currently one of the leads on Lucifer. They were considered for Jane Carter.
Again, I think they made the right choice on that one.
I mean, these actresses, I'm sure, are great.
They're great,
but can't beat Paul Patton.
No.
Who we really hope comes back.
In the production notes, Brad Bird also says he was thrilled with casting the IMF team. Quote, all of these people are terrific screen presences, and together they were like 4 different rhythms and voices and tempos that synchronized really well on screen. Also of note, Vladimir Mashkov, who plays Sidorov, the cop who's chasing Ethan the whole movie, is supposedly Russia's answer to George Clooney, according to the Ghost Protocol shooting diary. Yeah. I can see it.
I love it.
I can see it.
I wonder if that was a big a get for them, for Russia. Like, did it help Russia sales?
I hope it helped Russia sales. I'm shocked they blew up the Kremlin, at all. I feel like today you probably wouldn't be able to get away with it.
Yeah.
Things are a little touchier.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right. In August of 2010, rehearsals start on Stage 18 at Paramount. Let's talk about some department heads for this movie.
I love department heads.
Some significant people were brought back from the first movie, which is pretty unique and awesome. All these people are basically legends in their profession. John Knoll returned as visual effects supervisor. He's the CCO of ILM and one of the creators of Photoshop, interestingly. Mm-hmm. He worked on The Abyss, Hunt for Red October, the Star Wars prequels, a bunch of Star Treks, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, Avatar. He's an insane career. He's an amazing guy at ILM, still at ILM.
We'd love to have him on the show.
Yes, we would.
Gary Rydstrom returned as sound designer. Of course, this guy is also a genius.
Yes. Another one we'd love to get on the show.
Yes. Some of his other ridiculous credits includes Backdraft, Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, Toy Story, Titanic, Saving Private Ryan, Punch Drunk Love, Finding Nemo. He also directed the great Pixar short Lifted with the aliens.
Oh, he directed that one?
Yeah, and he directed
that one is so good.
A really cool movie for ILM called Strange Magic that Disney put out. He has won 7 Oscars and been nominated 19 times.
Only 7.
Only 7. So he's got plenty of room on the mantle for more.
All right. Then, of course, there's our buddy Paul Hirsch coming back to the series as editor. You have hopefully bought and read his book, so you know all the incredible movies that guy has edited. And, of course, listen to our multiple interviews with him if you haven't already.
And the last big name returning from the first movie is Kyle Cooper, who designed the title sequence. Some of his movies include Home Alone, True Lies. I just watched True Lies, and I was like, this is the greatest title card ever. I love how the letters move.
Dude, the Home Alone title is so good, too.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And they tried to do it again in Home Alone 2, and it just didn't work.
I don't remember.
It's the house in the
and
city.
it goes in between the city. Yeah.
Braveheart, Seven, Men in Black, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, Minority Report, Iron Man. I mean, he's done TV show credits.
He's pretty good.
Yeah. We're still trying to get him as well.
We're working on him as well. Yeah. Yes. We're working on a lot of these people. Now, from Mission Impossible 3, we've got Michael Giacchino returning. So this is someone returning from Mission Impossible 3. This is the first and only time a composer has done 2 of these movies. We love Giacchino and recently had a little exchange with him on Twitter. He says hopefully he can come on the podcast this summer, so fingers crossed. He scored The Incredibles and Ratatouille for Bird, plus many other Pixar movies, and he's worked with J.J. Abrams from the start. One of my favorite scores from the last few years is War for the Planet of the Apes, which is just absolutely gorgeous.
And he's working on a little art house movie called The Batman right now, so he's going to be a little...
So that might be why he's telling us to wait till summer.
But we've also got some newbies to the franchise.
Yeah.
Bring some people in. Cinematographer Robert Elswit, who shot Punch Drunk Love, Boogie Nights, Magnolia, There Will Be Blood, Nightcrawler, Tomorrow Never Dies. Michael Clayton, recently Velvet Buzzsaw. Mm-hmm. He's great. Listen to our interview with him if you haven't already, or revisit it because it's hilarious and great. Those are episodes 34 and 35, and we absolutely loved hanging out with him.
Yeah.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, so humble and hilarious.
Yeah.
And, the production designer was Jim Bissell, who did E.T., Jumanji, and The Rocketeer, and other movies. And, of course, we are trying to chase down Jim Bissell. I haven't found any leads there yet, but we're working on it. Costume designer was Michael Kaplan, who did Blade Runner, Clue, Seven, Fight Club, JJ Star Trek, and all 3 of the new Star Wars trilogy. I didn't realize his credits until I put them all together last night and was like, are you kidding me? Michael Kaplan, the costumes for Blade Runner, Seven, Clue. Clue is one of my favorite movies, and the costumes in that are incredible. Anyway, sorry.
He's the best. Speaking of the best, makeup effects this time was David Leroy Anderson, who won Oscars with Rick Baker for The Nutty Professor and Men in Black. He also did Cabin in the Woods and currently does American Horror Story. And he had more work at the beginning of the movie when he was probably doing the tongue, Benji's tongue and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
But he does a lot of the sort of, there's like in between masks, which we love.
Yeah.
So
working on him too.
Working on him. We're gonna actually. I think I'm gonna cut right now. We're gonna
stop right before production.
Before production begins.
We're at time.
We're at time.
Part 1.
Yeah.
But come back next week because there's plenty more. We'll get into the production. As always, rate and review. Actually, you know what? I wanted to tell you that we're well over 1,000 followers on Twitter now.
Woo!
Which is awesome. However, we're approaching 100 ratings on iTunes.
Ooh.
So I just want to encourage you all to help us get to 100.
Yes. If you cannot join the Patreon, if you don't buy a bumper sticker on the site, on TeePublic, this really helps us out in a big way, obviously.
Just go into the iTunes, Apple Podcast app, or whatever.
Wherever you're listening.
Just give us a 5-star.
5 stars. Listen, if you're giving that weird Uber driver that gave you a ride home last night 5 stars, give us 5 stars. It's not a stretch.
We're just as good as a weird Uber driver.
We really are. We really are. And obviously, keep listening. Watch your movie on Hulu.
Oh, yes. Nasty Piece of Work on Hulu. And pre-order Drew's book.
Yeah, you can pre-order it.
The Art of Onward.
We're so close now. It's almost a month away. So.
Yeah. Also, this episode is brought to you by Jeremy Dillon and is mixed by Luke Burson. And our Patreon is patreon.com/lightthefuse. Sign up at the bonus content level and you'll get bonus episodes. We're doing more episodes nowadays. And we need to record a new one. We need to do Best of the Decade. We haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
So that'll be out soon. And we have other ones. We recently did we did episodes for Shea Wiggum casting. We did
most anticipated
movies of 2020. We did our best movies of 2019.
Carly Wiesel, who's a Patreon member and a frequent guest on the show, just thought that it should have just been a Top Gun 2 episode.
Oh,
but I said, well, we'll have plenty of Top Gun 2 content.
Yeah, we're gonna do Top Gun 2. We'll do Top Gun 2 Patreon episodes for sure, and maybe we'll do it on the real show too. We'll see. So, of course, sign up for the Patreon. And if you can't, go to our TeePublic page, buy a shirt or a sticker, spend a couple bucks. And every dollar counts.
Yes.
Or just rate the thing on iTunes.
Yeah, it helps.
Tell your friends.
And we'll be back next week for production. Hopefully we get through production.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay.
It's a big production.
Yeah. And, until then, we'll see you then.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcasts@gmail.com. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.